Welcome back. Today we're going to talk about something that's crucial when learning a language. Motivation. I know we want to discuss business topics, but it's really important to set expectations or create the proper mindset in regards to language learning. This way we can be sure to keep learning and push past the intermediate plateau. So obviously, this will require some motivation. The problem with motivation is that it's not stable. At the same time, it's normal. We're not robots. In the beginning, we're always highly motivated. We're prepared to spend at least an hour a day doing English. But as the weeks go by, we lose the energy. Maybe we've got more important things to do, or we don't feel like we're making any progress. For one reason or another, you end up giving up. To better understand how motivation works, I'm going to introduce you to a very interesting model. It's Professor Zoltán Dörnyei's model. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right. I've adapted it a little to make it easier to understand, but basically, in this model, there are 3 stages of motivation. Step 1 is before you start learning. It's the moment when you make your choice, when you make your decision. For example, I've made the decision to leave the company. In short, this first stage is about why. Why do you want to learn this language? There are 3 important elements at this point. First, we need to set our objectives, our goals. I advise you to choose one with a deadline. For example, I want to learn 100 new words within a month. Or in 3 months, I want to be able to have a 30-minute conversation with my English friend. Personally, I find that 3 months is an ideal length of time for a goal. It's long enough to achieve something significant, but not too far away either, so you don't get discouraged. Obviously, this course does not last 3 months, but it's still a great idea to set a goal for yourself. In fact, I'm going to set a goal for you, but I'll talk more about that at the end of this video. When we set our goal, there's the question, what's in it for me? What's in it for me if I achieve my goals? Maybe I'll be able to change jobs or communicate better with my cousins who live in England. In short, what benefits will English bring me? I think it's a good idea to write the goals and benefits down somewhere in a notebook or on a post-it. That way, if we get demotivated at some point, we can reread the reasons we're doing all this. And then the last question you ask yourself at this first stage is, can I do it? If you've already learned other foreign languages, the answer is obvious. That's also why polyglots are better at learning languages, because they have greater self-confidence. But even if you've never learned a foreign language, you've already learned one, your mother tongue. That means you're also capable of learning English. So there's no reason to doubt your ability. It's just a question of motivation, method, and patience. Then there's the second stage, when you take action. To reach our goals, we have to work a little every day. We have to get closer to our goals, step by step. The best way to be consistent, in my opinion, is to create a habit. Next, you need to ask yourself if you're making progress. It's important to assess whether we're making progress because it allows us to validate our method. If we're not making any progress, we need to change something in our method. And of course, it's easier to stay motivated when you enjoy what you're doing. That's why I always say that you have to do things that give you pleasure. If you hate grammar exercises, don't force yourself to do them. Instead, try to read as much as you can. And that way, you'll learn grammar more naturally. We'll talk more about this too later. At the end of this video, I want you to do a short exercise that will give you the chance to assess this course to see if you're making any progress. Basically, I want you to be able to validate my method because, as I hope you'll discover for yourself, if we know what we're doing is effective, we'll stay motivated. finally, the last stage is the aftermath. This is when we analyze our performance. If we've achieved our objective, we can reward ourselves. We've done well, so we're entitled to a reward. This reward is important for our self-esteem and for staying motivated for the future. On the other hand, if we haven't yet reached our goal, we need to analyze it. We have to analyze why it didn't work. We have to understand the causes of our failure. Maybe our objective is too ambitious. Maybe our method isn't right and we need outside help. If we don't make this analysis, we'll just keep going around in circles and end up discouraged. The last question left after all that is, do I go on or not? This is the time to choose new goals, or to decide that our level is sufficient and that we'll simply maintain it. Personally, I think you should always try to go further. If you're content to maintain your level, you tend to regress, and that's a pity. That's it. I think this model is a pretty good representation of our motivation and, above all, its instability. The most important thing is to know why you're learning English, to be consistent, and to evaluate your progress. Personally, I have a lot of experience with learning, all sorts of things. I actually enjoy learning, but I focused mainly on guitar and languages. And therefore, I've already experienced the thoughts that come when we lose motivation. I had this a lot with German. Some days I would ask myself, who do I think I'm fooling? I'll never speak German fluently. It's ridiculous to think I can master another language, etc. But as I lived in Germany, I still kind of needed to learn it, so I never really stopped, more than a few weeks anyway. And I would still hear it and see it around me. Therefore, now with French, when I have the same thoughts, I can ignore them. I know they'll pass, and I know that it's just part of the process. So I hope you can ignore the negative thoughts as they come and just understand it's a process. Learning a language is a journey, and it can be long, but the good news is that it can be really enjoyable too. By the way, I took all these factors into account when I designed this program. My aim is to create the best possible environment so that you progress. An environment with interesting things to discover, things that will stimulate you intellectually and help you stay motivated. All right, so as a final closing exercise, I want you to do two things. The first thing is to write down the goal. I'm going to give you one actually, but it's even better if you write your own goals. Ready? Okay, write this. After this course, I want to be able to express my thoughts about a business topic, be able to persuade someone to my opinion. Okay, that was the easy part. Now, here comes the harder part. I want you, as best as you can, to write a paragraph or two that argues in favor of remote working. In other words, working from home. Just give it a try. Imagine you're trying to persuade your management to allow remote working. What will you say? Don't worry at all if this is hard or even too hard to write even one sentence. That's fine, but just see how much you can write. Because one of the reasons we lose motivation is that we don't see progress. But after the course, I'll give you another writing task, one where you'll need to persuade someone. This way, you'll be able to verify the method that I teach. Okay, I think that's enough about mindset for now. I think we're ready now to talk business.